Vinny Politan, great to have you with us here on Closing Arguments. End of another big week out in Boise, Idaho for the Doomsday cult mom, Lori Daybell. And today, the jury getting a lot more intimate information from inside the relationship of Chad and Lori. Text messages revealed for the jury to hear, and fascinating information coming from one of the special agents who was testifying in this case as well, talking about the investigation, what they found, the pieces as they put them together. Think about what this case was like. This was a puzzle with pieces just scattered everywhere, from Arizona to Idaho to Hawaii, and someone had to put all this stuff together and figure out exactly what was going on. I mean, that's kind of what we had to do here at Court TV when we first came across this story. We didn't quite understand what was going on, but we knew there was something there. And then, you know, day after day, week after week, month after month, we were finally able to put things together to a certain extent. And now we're learning a lot more at this trial. So let's take a listen to Special Agent Doug Hart, former FBI agent here, talking about the search on the Daybell property and on Lori's iCloud.
During the course of the investigation, it became apparent that Chad Daybell acted as a quasi-religious leader, and that Alex Cox was involved in the alleged conspiracy as it related to the deaths of the children and Tammy Daybell. And this is an instance where Lori Vallow is communicating to her brother Alex Cox regarding the things that she is learning about him. The reference to going to check with my source tonight, I believe, is a reference to Chad Daybell.
So think about this, right? So Lori is now reeling Alex into this whole thing. She's met this guy, Chad, and here's what prosecutors are laying out, right? She meets Chad. She wants to be with Chad. She's got a husband. She's got kids. He's got a wife. I mean, how are we going to be together? Well, let's bring Alex in so he can take care of everything. Bring in Alex. He'll believe anything, because Lori knows that Alex will do anything that Lori says. Why? It could be partly because Alex probably wanted to be Chad in this whole scenario. Anyway, let's bring in Court TV legal correspondent Chanley Painter. Join us live from outside the courthouse in Boise, Idaho. End of another big week. But today, taking us kind of behind the curtain into these private text messages, Chanley, Lori and Chad communicating. This is significant stuff, because we can't forget, this is a conspiracy case.
Exactly, and this is an investigator, the head of the FBI investigation here, really putting all the pieces together for this jury to show each co-conspirator's part and what they played through Lori's iCloud account, and planning. Let's take, for instance, Tammy Daybell. We've covered this extensively, and how Chad and Lori were making some moves well before her actual death, and including planning their honeymoon before that time. Let's take a listen.
This is a text between Chad Daybell or a text from Chad Daybell to Lori Vallow regarding plans for the two of them to get together.
Can you please read that?
Yes. Line 2967. Concerning the 2 weeks, BYU Idaho's graduation is July 23rd. Adam is getting his bachelor's, and Leah and Joe are getting their associates. They are all walking in the same commencement ceremony. I feel she will be gone by then, but I will still have that hoopla to deal with, because a lot of my and Adam's family are coming and will stay for July 24th. So I believe that's why the Lord hinted I might not get to be with you until that is over. Please ask about that.
So the Lord hinted that, they would not be able to go to Hawaii and get married until that is over. Ask about that. This is in July. This is just a couple days after Charles Vallow was shot by Alex Cox, the man you just mentioned, Vinny. And we know that it wouldn't be until October 9th, there was an attempted shooting on Tammy's life. And then she was allegedly murdered October 19th. And then these two on the screen were in Hawaii getting married on November 5th.
Okay, so this goes towards trying to prove this conspiracy relative to the murder of Tammy. How about communications about Charles, Tylee, and JJ on the other side of the equation? You know, Lori's responsibilities, Lori's family.
Well, again, these messages Doug Hart is pouring through in front of the jury. He only got up to July so far in his testimony, but before he started his PowerPoint, Vinny, told this jury that there are communications between Chad and Lori about the deaths of all of the victims covered in this trial. Tylee, JJ, Charles, Tammy, between the two. And not only that, there's a specific term that Chad would call each of these victims in the messages that they saw a recurring theme of. Let's take a listen to him explaining that to the jury earlier today.
It was apparent that they were very quickly after meeting involved in an illicit affair with one another, and that they shared plans to be married and have a life together.
Were there any other investigative leads or concepts that needed follow-up?
Yes, as part of the plans between Chad Daybell and Lori Vallow, they had obstacles that were in the way of them achieving.
Your Honor, I don't object. This is argumentative.
Sustained.
When you say they had, understand the court's ruling, so you identified the leads that followed up. Did you find information or discussion that there were barriers to their efforts to be together?
I'm going to object as to argumentative. The question is argumentative.
Judge, it's an investigative process, and if it had significance to him, the jury is entitled to hear that, especially if it factored into his creation of a summary.
It's overruled.
Thank you, Judge.
There were several communications regarding Tylee and JJ that were relevant to their deaths.
Okay. How so?
They discussed their deaths.
Okay. And what did that have to do with the concept that they had begun an affair or planned a future together?
After the affair began, there then began to be communications regarding the deaths of Charles Vallow, Tammy Daybell, JJ Vallow, and Tylee Ryan.
Okay. Any conversations about Tammy Daybell?
Yes.
Okay. And was there communication that law enforcement had to follow up on that suggested that those individuals were considered barriers to by the defendant to her future with Chad Daybell?
I'm going to object as to argumentative, Judge.
Overruled.
The exact word they used in the communications was obstacles.
Okay. And just to be clear, the communications between who?
Chad Daybell and Lori Vallow.
Okay. And they characterized JJ, Tylee, Tammy, Charles as obstacles.
Correct.
The jury during the FBI agent's testimony today, Vinny, looked serious. They would lean into the screens, read along the messages as he read them in front of everyone in the courtroom. There was one moment where one juror on the front row during the James and Elena text messages earlier today, he kind of bugged his eyes out a little bit and then put his head in his hands, trying to hide his expression. But coming up on Monday, again, we expect to hear from this investigator the whole day. We're going to learn more about the affair, more about the deaths and how they communicated about that, and the financial motive as well, Vinny.
So we're close to the end here for the prosecution case.
It sounds like it. Not sure if they'll call more witnesses after him, and then we may even hear from the defense next week. What will they do? We'll have to wait and see.
All right, Shanley Painter in Boise. Long week coming up next week, so rest up this weekend. Thanks so much. All right, let's bring in our think tank. Joining us tonight from Los Angeles, Deputy Public Defender for LA County, Philip Dubé. Also with us from Cleveland, Ohio, criminal defense attorney Ian Friedman. And from New York City, former senior homicide prosecutor Bernarda Villalona. Great to see everyone tonight. All right, let's talk about conspiracy here. This is a conspiracy case. They're planning a life together. They have 4 obstacles, all 4 obstacles dead. Chad planning to marry Lori, but not going to a divorce attorney. Talking about she's going to be dead. Are we putting the pieces together here, Philip Dubé? Does this sound to you like a conspiracy?
There are missing pieces, but yes, it's starting to sound like a conspiracy.
Starting to. We're at the end of the case, Philip. We're at the end of the case.
I feel you, I hear you, but I'm not seeing it beyond a reasonable doubt. Not yet. I want to hear what the defense has to say. Of course, on its face.
What if they say nothing? What if they say absolutely nothing?
Then she's going down like Amelia Earhart.
Okay, good.
That's what's going to happen. Oh, yeah, okay. She's got to put on something, okay? I am not convinced. Remember, Vinny, and maybe the think tank remembers this, in the pre-trial stages, Lori Vallow went to a state hospital to undergo what's called competency training, meaning she was mentally incompetent during the proceedings. That means defense counsel could not rationally defend the client because she was out of it. She had to go to the hospital. So what does that presuppose? That she was also in the throes, in the pangs of psychosis, mental illness, while with Chad Daybell. And I truly believe that she was perimenopausal with late onset of schizophrenia and was embattled by dark spirits and internal stimuli and voices. One of the things that is
she's got the dark spirits
and
and she's a zombie. She's got to go. Should be a death penalty case.
Not quite so simple. It's really not, because what is missing here, truly, is why somebody in the throes of psychosis would succumb to this. And the literature will tell you that many people, late onset, late in life, have tremendous fears of abandonment because they don't want to be left behind with the voices, with the internal stimuli, the sounds of demons, and then this conflict with deities. So what happened? She fell prey to Chad Daybell, and she trusted him to carry the mantle, if you will, but of the good spirits and not the dark spirits, and kind of went along for the ride because she did not want to succumb to the demons that were within her. And if you notice now, she was successfully treated twice while in the state hospital so that they can resume criminal proceedings, and she appears to be rationally cooperating. I hope for her sake she puts on some kind of a mental defense. Otherwise, like I said, she's going down. One last point, and that is in criminal law, particularly in conspiracy and in the law of homicide, there has to be a union, not just of the criminal act, but of criminal intent, the criminal mind. And when you have a disjointment, if you will, of both, you cannot convict. Not where you have a crime that has a specific intent behind it. But we'll see what she's got.
Yeah, well, she did. I'm going to have Bernarda respond, and then Ian, you'll get the rebuttal. So Bernarda, I'm looking at this, and I'm like, she's the one recruiting Alex. I mean, that's... I mean, Chad has no idea that Alex is a guy who will do whatever Lori wants him to do. And what Lori wants him to do, according to prosecutors, is kill some people.
Exactly. So, Philip, thanks for the background, but the jury's not going to know about all those competency exams. That was for us to know about the competency exam. That's why the prosecution in this case moved forward with her case first, because they didn't want to jeopardize that she will go back to being incompetent. Aside from that, the reality is that if we keep it simple, this woman and this man, they loved each other beyond words, beyond all these love letters, beyond all these telenovela stories, and were willing to do anything and everything so they can be together. That included killing the kids and getting rid of the wife that was in the way as well. And I think the jury, they can see that simply. It's not going to be an issue when you put all the pieces together and you make the argument to the jury. It's not going to be an issue at all. Just keep it simple. And also, again, a jury's not going to get past the fact. It's like, you're the mother of these 2 kids. Where were they? What were you doing with them? Why weren't you looking for them? Why were you chilling on the other side of the country with this man and telling lies about the whereabouts of your kid? And I think that alone gives so much strength and weight to the prosecution's case that it'll be easy for them to come back with a conviction in this case.
You know, Ian, that loin fire was just burning hot. It was burning hot. To me, that's what this is all about. Two married people with a lot of obligations. They call them obstacles. Commitments, they call them obstacles, were in the way.
You know, Vinny, you asked me to talk about law, but you always throw these things at me, starting with loin fire, and you want me to get into a legal
Hey, Chad's
academic
words,
discussion
not mine.
from there?
Chad's words, not mine.
So let me say this, Philip, I agree with everything you said. And the four of us could have a really great legal academic discussion right now. We really could. But as I recall from the opening, now, of course, the defense doesn't have to telegraph where they're going to go. They didn't even have to give an opening. But when they did not talk about this sort of defense. Maybe they'll get there. I agree with you 100%. If they don't, she's got zero chance. I think she has very little chance now. Bernarda, I'm with you on this one. I think there's too much death here, and you have the death of two children. The jury's not going to love any sort of defense suggestion unless, as you said, Philip, they've got something as strong as you just put forward. I'm not seeing it right at this moment, but we all know as trial lawyers, we wait till the very end. As of today, she's in big trouble. We'll see what happens by next Friday's think tank.
Yeah, I would love, I want the jury to get to the truth. So I would love to see her get up on the witness stand like every other criminal defendant and give us their side of the story. Just get up there, give us your side of the story, and we'll figure out if it's reasonable. That's all.